Hello, my name is Jim Dice, and I need to check and see if this is working correctly. It is. This one doesn't have the red sensor on the front. And we're moving on with the orientation. This is disc number 4, and we're starting on page 5. Number 7 talks about communications with patients and families. As you can understand, with any business, communication is extremely important. It allows us to quickly identify any changes that are in the patient's condition itself. It also allows patients to express to you their desired needs. Fortunately, when you go into most homes, I'd say 95% of the homes, the patient can tell you what they need. They can tell you what they want. They can tell you if they're hurting. They can tell you if they're thirsty. Communication is extremely important. Not only communication between you and your patient or you and your patient's family, but between you and the office staff, especially when there's a change that takes place in a home or there's a problem. It's okay for you to call and let the family know, but you really need to call the office. We need to know everything that's going on in the patient's homes. Not only the express communication through talking, but listening. Listening is extremely important when it comes to communication. You should practice listening what the patients and their families say to you, because no one knows themselves better than the patient themselves. A lot of this information is going to be gone over in the Home Health Aide certification class. It is a 75-hour class, and the Home Health Aides, when you're first hired, you have 1 year to complete the class. We will schedule you for that class. So when we talk about these topics now, it's not as in-depth as the actual class. Number 8, understanding basic human needs. To work effectively with clients, you should have some general information. No two patients are exactly the same. There are certain things that we all share, that we all need, but we're not the same. We all have the basic needs for food, clothing, shelter, rest, activity, avoidance of pain, and an instinct to escape danger. Those are universal. Doesn't matter what nationality someone is or what country they live in. Those are basic human needs. It's our goal to make sure that these needs are met as much as possible, and if these needs cannot be met, it is the employee's responsibility, again, to notify the office. Those needs, again, are for food, when we're helping them with their meals, clothing, when we're helping them getting dressed, shelter, if there was a problem with the roof leaking, or a problem with the floors, the boards are broken in the floors, rest, which would be just, rest time between activities, making sure that they're sleeping well at night and that they're safe. Activity would be, getting up, taking them for a walk, at least getting them out of bed. If it's a patient that's bedfast, at least sit them up while you're feeding them, turning them and repositioning them every 2 hours as our policy, every even hours, to avoid them getting bed sores and avoidance of pain. We're there to protect them. Turn to page 6 at the top, number 9. Establishing and maintaining a relationship with your patient. A through J is listed here. We'll take a look at those. A, when you first go, introduce yourself to them. Be cordial. This is my name. This is where I'm from. Maybe some past experiences that you've previous places that you worked. You don't want to get too much into your personal family issues. Those kind of things need to be left at the door. You don't take those into the patient's home, because it'll come back to bite you later on. Personal things should be left at the door. Now, you can tell them that you have some children. You can tell them your children's ages, but at no time should a child ever be taken to a patient's house. B, remember each patient and each family is different. Get to know what they prefer. I've had patients that prefer a glass of water right out of the sink, tap water. I've had patients that want water with ice out of the freezer. I have patients that keep their water jug in the refrigerator and they want you to get it out of there. I have some patients that like the brown cup, some patients that always prefer the red cup. So when you're in that home and you get to know their preferences, it's going to be a real nice relationship between you and them. Just because Mrs. Smith that you go to on Monday, Wednesday, Friday She likes scrambled eggs, and you go to Mrs. Jones on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, she might like her eggs easy over easy. Enough said. C, meal times are great opportunities for maintaining relationships. Sit down and eat your lunch while the patient's eating the meal that you prepared for them. We're not to be eating patients' foods in the home. That's a policy that we have. But when you take your meal in, sit down with them. It's important that your eye level, you don't want your eye level always being above the patient looking down. That makes a person feel inferior. When I go into patients' homes, I like to get down on my knees and sit beside them when I'm talking to them. And that way their eyes are higher than my eyes. And it's a nonverbal communication. Nonverbally, I'm telling them, I don't think I'm better than you. And that allows for a real good communication between your patients and you. C, we did. D, provide activities. And see page 15 on your handout sheets. Looks like this. There's 101 activities. I found this article in a magazine. It was actually for Alzheimer's patients, because if you don't use your mental abilities, they will become diminished. That you will lose them over time. And you've heard it say, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's actually true. There's 101 activities here that you need to be doing with patients while you're in the home. If they can go outside, help them rake leaves. Cut out some paper dolls. Decorate paper placemats. The families really, really appreciate whenever we take the time to do an activity with the elderly people that we serve. It's extremely important. This mentally stimulates your patients. Perform the activity with them. That means just don't give it to them and let them do it by themselves. You actually do it as well with them. And provide rest periods between activities. Now, again, that would be based on the patient's individual diagnosis. Someone that has a lung disease may only be able to do half of the things they have listed here because of that. So based upon each family or each patient, it could be different. E, responding promptly when asked to do something as long as it is safe. When they say, can I have a glass of iced tea? You say, okay. You get up, you go get it. You don't say, well, I'll get it for you later. You're telling them that that what they are asking for is not important if you don't try to do it as soon as you can. Now, if you're in the middle of taking the wet clothes out of the washer and putting them in a dryer, tell them I'm going to do that as soon as I turn this dryer on and finish getting these clothes moved over. Then I'll go ahead and do it, and then do what you say. Don't tell someone you're going to do it and then not do it at all. That can make for a really bad relationship. Number F, or letter F, it's important to maintain the patient's routine. If they normally get up at 10 a.m., then we need to continue to get them up at 10 a.m. Some patients take their medicine at 9 o'clock every morning. Some patients take their medicine before they eat. Some patients take their medicine right after they eat. If that's their routine, then we need to try to stick to that routine on a daily basis. They're losing control of a lot of things that they have control over. This is something that we can still allow them to feel like they're in control of. What time they eat during the day, they can tell us. G, the most important part of maintaining a relationship is listening to what your patient is saying. Don't interrupt them whenever they're talking, and don't try to substitute words for them, because if you substitute the wrong words, again, you could be talking down to them, making them feel like they're a child. We don't want to do that. Or you could substitute the wrong word, and then you would have a misunderstanding of what they're actually trying to say. Letter H, treat each patient as an individual. Respect their wishes and decisions. And the key word there is respect. We need to be respectful of what they decide. And unless they're declared legally incompetent by either a physician or by a judge, then they're still able to make the decisions that need to be made. The letter I. Leave your personal problems outside the front door. Do not discuss them with the patient or their families. Let's see. Your kid didn't do their homework the other day. Your dog ran out in front of a car and got hit and had to go to the vet and have surgery. Your husband's car blew up and it's still sitting on 119. All those things are extremely important to you, but that's not something that we need to burden the patients with. We're there to provide them with a service, and that's it. If you have a problem, again, what it says here is leave it outside the door. Don't even take it in with you. And that's going to assist you in maintaining a healthy relationship with those families. Because if I have complaints that come in from these families and they say, hey, don't send this girl back here anymore, family A, because she keeps telling my mom about her family problems, and now my mom's worried all night about the girl. Family B says the same thing. Family C calls in and says the same thing. They're like, don't send this girl back. Well, now I have 3 places that I can't send you. And that's not good, especially whenever you want to try and get 40 hours a week. Then I'm limited to only sending you to 1 or 2 other places. And if there's a problem there, then it's only going to hurt you. Best thing, leave problems outside the patient's door. J, encourage patients to make as many decisions on their own as possible, unless their decision is unsafe. If that happens, then you would notify the office. I'll give you an example. There was a patient, she likes to drive. She still has her driver's license, but when she drives, she's very reckless in her driving. The girls called in, said they were concerned about it. What we did was, anytime that my employees are in a vehicle with a patient, my employee drives that vehicle, not the patient. So now we now have that policy set up and it's in effect. And in that situation, it would be unsafe. It would be unsafe for my employee to get into that vehicle with that elderly person and let that elderly person drive. Okay, number 10 on page 6, understanding older clients. There are a lot of myths about elderly patients, and there are physical changes that normally occur as we age, such as our hearing, it's not as sharp, decreased visual ability, which means can't see as well, decreased strength, slower reflexes, and less blood circulation. However, it is normal for most elderly not to be forgetful and to want to maintain their independence. We should assist them in their activities and not just do everything for them. It might take them 15 minutes to get dressed in the morning. You could probably do it in 2 minutes if you did it for them. Which is better? Actually, what is better for them is let the patient do it, even though it takes 15 minutes. Okay, number 11, understanding, and that should be ill clients, I-L-L. Sorry about the typo. When people get ill, they handle their illnesses differently. The following is a list of common reactions to illness that you may encounter, and how to best handle these situations is in the next section, which is personal care goals. A is denial. B is depression. C is impatience. And D is overdependence. Let's talk about those 4 individually. First one is denial, which means the patient completely denies that they're sick. They say things like, I'm not sick, this didn't happen to me, or they never want to talk about their illness. Remember, sometimes it takes time for them to accept their illness. Never force discussing the issue with them about their illness. B is depression. Depression is pretty much when a person turns inward. They're not concerned with the outside environment, the outside world. The patient can refuse to eat, they can refuse to get out of bed, refuse to turn the lights on, or to refuse to participate in any activities. That's pretty much a depression type of behavior. If that is noted, or it's really important that you get a hold of the office, because we have in the past been able to get a hold of their doctor, get them some medications, and able to bring that patient up out of that depression to where they could function normally in their environment. C is impatience. Impatience is where the patient shows signs of irritability and frequent complaining. They are most likely upset at their illness or their discomfort, not at the home health aide. Yet they do like to project their anger on everything around them. And it can be very, very difficult when you're taking care of a patient that is impatient. Nothing you do pleases them. They're angry all the time. You never do anything right. And they complain. When you're there, they complain about all the other girls. When the other girl's there, they're complaining about you. We have had those types of situations. That's something that, again, would need to be addressed at the supervisor's level. It would be needed brought to the office. D, overdependence. Overdependence can occur when the patient's sense of security is threatened. They want you to do everything for them. Now, they can eat themselves, but they're going to sit there and they're going to